Brentford, look at that. 31 shots Brentford created. Manchester United conceded more shots than any other team in 2024. But in the end, it means the spoils are shared. Manchester United fans, of course, looking at the possibility of qualifying for the Champions League. That result leaves them now 8 points adrift of Spurs, 9 of Aston Villa, who both won earlier today. All that momentum, all that excitement seems to have dissipated after that win against Liverpool. For more on this, let's welcome in Frank Leboeuf. Was watching that, as were you, Stevie. Wow, they were so bad.
Well, how many times have we seen it, though?
But was it just fairy tale? Was it? You just kind of thought after what happened in that game against Liverpool?
No, I think you have to isolate the Liverpool game, because and the truth of the matter is that is one game in which they have put a performance together, and that is not something I remember us saying for a long time. We've been criticising how this team has been finding a way to win games without actually playing well. And today was just another example of how they've managed to get a result without playing well. It's probably a worse performance than they've had for a long time as well. As bad as they've been, and as unconvincing as they've been, this is as bad as they've been in all of this season. And just for a couple of minutes, it almost seemed like the biggest smash and grab of the season.
Yep.
But in the end, you've got to say Brentford got something out of the game, which, had they not got anything, would have been an absolute travesty.
Frank, Brentford will be so disappointed overall that they didn't get the win here, because it could have quite easily been 3 or 4-1.
Well, definitely, Dan. I was frustrated because, in a neutral point of view, you want to see, a fair result. And when Mason Mount scored the goal, I said, wow, that's so unfair. Football can be so unfair sometimes. But they got it back. And it's maybe because they've been clumsy as well. I mean, you hit 3 times the post, you can be unfortunate, but you can be also clumsy. But overall, the Bees deserve to win, like, big time. We talk about Manchester United having a bad game, but you have to congratulate the Brentford team and what they should have achieved, meaning a win. They've been everywhere. They work so hard defensively in the middle of the park, at front. Of course, Tony, Bomber, and Wissa, they work so hard, try to get some chances. Onana was very good as well. Maybe the only one player who did his job. But that was amazing. What a game from the Bees. Yeah, Manchester United were bad. Is it because of them? Yeah, we see that a lot. Is it because the Bees have been good? I think a little bit of that.
It's 1 step forward, 2 steps back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you look at it and you think, well, what was the plan of action going into this tie from Ten Hag?
I certainly can't answer that question. And you kind of keep going back to, and as much as Steve was saying, the Liverpool game was just a one-off. You keep going back to that and the long break and how that affected Manchester United. And listen, given that result, given the fact that you've got the likes of Lisandro Martinez coming back to fitness, Mason Mount playing a role yet again, the continued emergence of Kobe Mainoo, things just seem to be trending in the right direction. And on the back of that game, I expected so much more from Manchester United. Now, let's keep in mind, while Brentford on their day are a very good team, especially at home, Brentford are sitting 5 points off the bottom 3. Brentford, and they're there for a reason. One of those reasons being, while the front 3 of Wissam, Mbeumo and Tony were good today, they haven't been for a lot of the season. And now all of a sudden, all these things, a team sitting 17th or 15th or whatever it is, 5 points out of the drop zone, are creating 31 chances against Manchester United. That speaks volumes. And it just kind of gets you back to what's next for Manchester United. When you start to try to wonder and give them all this speculation about managers and players and financial fair play, you just wonder what gives.
You take a look at that starting 11 again, Stevie. Manchester United, some United fans throw in, well, what about all the injuries we've had? Look at this.
Look, I really don't think. If you're a Manchester United fan, you're really clutching at straws to turn around and say that because of the injuries they have, it's why they're struggling.
But this is pretty much, he's close to first choice.
Yeah, but if you're a Man United fan, you would say, well, Martinez had to come on and he's not fit. And Mason Mount, he's not fit. And Casemiro's but if you want to skirt around things, you can come up with excuses and reasons for bad performances. But the bottom line is, and it's the same for every single so-called big club that ever plays a game, the first thing you have to do is match the intensity and the physicality of the opposition. And once you do that, then the quality that you have, and you look at the names on the jerseys that you showed us, then the quality takes over. But if you don't do that initial first thing and face the battle and overcome it, then you're never going to be able to show your quality. And that is, today's game is a perfect example of how, from the first minute pretty much through the last, physically, United weren't up for the challenge. That's going to be a problem unless there's wholesale changes in the squad. Because this squad of players has shown that if anybody throws that at them, they can't handle it. And that isn't going to change. It's okay playing Liverpool and it's okay when you play City, and you don't really need to get yourself up for it because the occasion takes care of itself. When you play the Wolves and the Brentfords and the Forests and all these teams, the first thing you always have to do is win the physical battle. And if you don't, you're not going to get anything from the game.
Of course, a lot of talk about who's going to be in charge at the start of the season. Given that this team keeps continuously, it's not an anomaly today, giving up all these opportunities, what does that tell you about Ten Hag and his inability to deal with that?
Well, it tells you that he doesn't know how to fix it, is basically the problem. We can argue that what he has at his disposal isn't good enough, and we can argue that he's not fixing it. So whichever route you want to go, nothing's going to change. And Manchester United have to make a change. And unfortunately, as always, the coach is usually the easiest change. And if he's not out the door at the end of the season, I'll be absolutely shocked.
It's incredible, Frank. It just keeps happening. They just keep giving up all these chances every single game.
Yeah, but that's what it is with those, I would say, those players also. I mean, we aim somebody like Ten Hag, or we're going to talk about Mauricio Pochettino after, but I want to talk about the players. I mean, the player that I met, that I played against when I was playing against Manchester United, in the middle of the park, for example, Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, they were warriors. I didn't see any warrior tonight at Manchester United. What made United being so strong is because they had warriors. Yeah, it's nice to have artists. It's nice to have Cantona, Beckham, and some others. But at first, you need warriors. And I don't see that. I don't see that at the back, or they make silly mistakes. I don't see that in the middle of the park. So you can blame the coach. Yeah, you can blame also the medical staff, the physical staff, whatever you want to blame. But the players are on the field, and I don't see that anymore. Again, we're going to talk about Chelsea, but many clubs who are successful is the club who have in it some warriors. And I don't see that at Manchester United. I don't see that at Chelsea as well.